thanks for coming over to our Swarm Salon. So our topic today is being a fractional CTO for multiple startups and how do you even manage all of that. So Jay, I noticed your LinkedIn profile and I saw that the first time you listed your experience as a CTO was in 1998.
All right.
I was born 1996.
Wow.
So what was it like to be a CTO at that time?
Okay. 1998. That was probably that startup where we did internet telephony. By around that time, it was already. I had been some kind of technology leader for a while already by then. So it wasn't new to me. I just got to work. Just for context, the what I did then, that was way before the era of cloud computing. So what I did then was I set up a network of internet telephony data centers. We had a main data center here in the Philippines. What we used to call a NOC, a Network Operations Center. We used to That's the acronym, the NOC, and we set up servers. Mostly at that time, I think these were Windows NT servers, which had internet telephony cards, so that we could actually um, supply internet telephony to telcos here in the Philippines and elsewhere. So and it was easy enough for us back then. When you were in tech, you could code and you could set up hardware. So when you say full stack, that's all the way to metal. Um, um, yeah, so that's how it was back then. It's even weirder before that, because like I said, my tech experience goes all the way back to 1983.
Why was it weirder before that?
Um, well, first of all, there was no internet. Everything was if you needed to communicate to connect computers, you do it through dial-up modems and mostly centralized servers that you dial into, and these were the BBSs, and nothing was really connected until way later when centralized online services started to crop up. That was about 1980, on the 88 thereabouts, and the internet just became mainstream around 1996, 95, 96. So it was a different context altogether.
So, like when the era of cloud computing entered, it seems like you started multiple companies that
That's right. Yeah,
relate to that trend, right? So, what was
right.
the transition like?
Um, it was just like a lot of things in technology. It was very liberating, and it just accelerated things um, uh, exponentially. Why? Because when cloud computing was introduced, suddenly the economies of scale allowed for projects and startups to um, to tap into cheaper ways of deploying stuff on the internet. And we no longer had to set up our own servers, purchase our own IP addresses, set up our own web servers, monitor our own networks. Suddenly, you offloaded that to cloud services, um, and then that's it. A lot of the headaches disappeared. It became way cheaper because of economies of scale, and it became super easy for would-be startup founders to spin up projects. That was the advent of I guess what we'd call Web 2.0 now, and that was the time when I got back into I got back into Web 2.0 around 2009 when I sold my company Airborne Access, and I felt like I wanted to get back into coding. I was coding then, but I I uh, wasn't coding as much as I wanted to, and I was doing JavaScript, some PHP. But when I sold Airborne Access, I set up PROUDCLOUD, and I got into agile development, and I taught myself how to code in Rails, in Ruby and Rails.
From
And
DHH,
sorry,
from DHH and
yeah,
the
from
basic
DHH,
approach.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was very early, around 2009. It was, it was semi-early because that's around the time Rails 3.0 came out. And Rails 3.0 became sort of like a paradigm, a major change in the framework and the way it was being used. And that's also around the time that NoSQL came out or became popular. That's when MongoDB. When I learned how to code in Rails, I started coding on MongoDB as well. When it was still a beta release, it was still a release candidate. So I came in at the right time, I think, for these frameworks.
It feels like you've seen it all. And actually, I'm curious because let's zoom into right now. What does your plate look like? Like, which companies are you operating in or managing on a daily basis?
Um, I'm managing ProudCloud, obviously. It's been around for 14 years, and for me, psychologically, that's the primary one because within ProudCloud, aside from it being at that maturity level. It's also managing multiple projects within ProudCloud. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a big refinement in terms of process. The process that we put into ProudCloud was a product of 14 years of evolution, and I think um, it um, it helps us out a lot. It dictates the outcomes of projects and how we deal with clients and how we're managed to push out timely releases. So that the Proud Cloud is a big takes up a big space in my mind, in my brain space. And then I've got other startups. I think you know that during the pandemic, when the pandemic happened, I had just taken charge of MEDIFI, which is a telehealth company. Um, so there's that. But again, it's fractional. So a certain percentage is dedicated to that.
Mm.
I have another startup that keeps you busy now called Hey Rumi. I'm a CTO there. My co-founder Ina Flores is the CEO. It's in the it started out in the influencer space, but it's now in the community and fan engagement space. So I'm busy with that as well. Um, there are other startups that I just came aboard onto. We have at least two, and then I'm an advisor to other startups as well. Aside from that, I actually welcome random mentorship. A lot of people reach out, like not just on tech, but on startups in general, management, best practices, and all that. So I take some time to actually mentor people, which is very 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 gratifying. And I think a lot of people appreciate it too. And I like it that I'm able to help and to put some clarity into things that are probably blurry for them. But yeah, so
Awesome.
there's a lot of stuff that I do um, as far as work is concerned. There's Launch Garage, Papala, I forgot. Launch Garage is another thing that's actually a big chunk, takes a big chunk of our brain space because um, we're very busy now since even during the pandemic, we were running acceleration programs, but we have our team that supports us. But then recently, we've been very active with things like Startup QC and some of the accelerators with DTI and DOST. But the funny thing is, since I'm from QC, the whole Startup QC initiative is quite close to my heart, and my co-founder Jojo Flores. We're all from QC, so we have this special interest to see it succeed, and make it fly. In fact, we came from an alignment meeting this afternoon to start up QC. So I find myself more present during face-to-face meetings with startup QC. So when I mean present, that counts for a lot, because that means I have to get into traffic and travel to certain meeting venues and all that. But it's worth it.
So it looks like it's a mix of your 14-year consultancy, your mentorship engagements that come up randomly, your health tech startup, and then this new startup you're building, and your innovation accelerator, right? Plus your partnership with Jojo and startup QC. I'm also from QC, by the way.
I know
um,
that.
how do you decide, or what criteria do you use to determine the bigger percentages, right? Like, I'll put more time to this and this slice of the pie versus this
Hmm.
one. What criteria do you use?
Well, ProudCloud is easy because that's by default. That's a big chunk. I mean, it's
Why?
automatic. We
Why?
don't even have a. I don't know. I mean, it's the venue for. It just, I don't know. It just takes that special emotional connection with ProudCloud. I mean, it's where we build stuff for a lot of these clients of ours. Incidentally, a lot of the startups that I work, that's one secret. A lot of the technology and engineering teams that for these startups that I take on, maybe about 90% of the time, we offload to ProudCloud. That makes it easier. That makes the job easier because there's a 14-year-old process. There's a very close management proximity. So when I meet with ProudCloud, and I meet with the different project managers, I'm actually meeting about these my other startups on the engineering level. So it's times two. So those are the secrets secrets to efficiency. But how do I choose which startup takes the bigger chunk? I think they have equal amounts of attention. Um, I like to think that, but I think in practice, whatever whatever is the newest one, the one that's super unstable, the one that you're just starting to build for, the one that you're trying to determine product market fit for, the one the depends on the maturity stage. You focus on that. There's a lot of guerrilla tactics. There's a lot of thinking about it overnight and all that. So especially when it's new, but later, especially when engineering is already the product is already smooth and the base is already built, um, it's easier now. It's all automatic. I had a call with Thursday. I actually have two product committee calls. One is, and I was talking to my co-founder, our team at Heirumi, and we said, "Wow, the product now is quite slick. It's working well. It's gone beyond that whole glitchy, crashy app, and now you're appreciating. Wow, this thing is easy. It's nice to use. It's smooth. It's slick. So." Um, we're at that space now with Hey Rumi that we're now experimenting with new features, experimenting with new types of users, etc. So that's the different evolutionary stages of these startups, and then corollary to that, my attention as well, my brain cells, my brain power.
I think what I took away from what you just said is you create synergies between your different companies, and PROUDCLOUD being the oldest one, 14 years of experience, stability, and of course, it's not looking for product market fit, right? Like it can run on its own,
Hmm.
but you come back to it for finding a solution for your need to build, right?
Right.
I think.
Personally, yeah. Uh, Personally, yes. Um, I'd like to. I still try to find time, and I'm still trying to find that time to so that I can get back to coding. I still keep abreast of coding technologies, and I can still. That's one thing that I've developed very early. When I taught myself how to code in the 80s, I could actually code in my head. Um, uh, and I used to do that. I used to code on yellow pad. If you're old school,
No.
we were taught that, and that was part of our training. I could write code. It's called code kata. You remember that concept, code kata? You just keep on coding, and then it's all muscle memory, and you're ready now. So once you can do that on yellow pad, you can code in your head, and I can see also data structures in my head on how data will be, and that's something I was able to do. But the funny thing is, I'm not able to get on the computer and code anymore because I don't have time. I don't have. Still looking for the time. Um, but ProudCloud is actually the go-to for reliable engineering. That's pretty much it. Because there's a team structure, there's a process structure, and there's a quality assurance, code quality assurance flow that we follow. And of course, it's a team. I've got some pretty dependable guys that you no longer have to micromanage. They're ready take charge of creating architecture, creating the all the way to DevOps. So that's the role of ProudCloud now, vis-a-vis the other startups.
So one thing that fascinates me about your career journey or how you build teams is even you even mentioned this earlier, right? Like in the 1990s or 2000s, what a full stack engineer looks like is someone who's good at hardware and software. And it just as I observed you over the past few years, it looks like you have a fascination with building those kinds of engineers, being good at every slice of of being an engineer, right? Sometimes your engineers are good at front end, back end, and like even the UX stuff, plus like the business side of things, right?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Um, Kalen, right? Kalen of Orange and Bronze. I think a couple of years back we had this discussion because I started noticing why is there now a difference between front end and back end. So it was sort of like, is that how it is nowadays? Um, and then it's evolved into that reality. But even with that, we still try as best as we can to teach, to instill the discipline that you should be you should have at least some back end skills if you're a front end developer, and vice versa. Um, I know backend is actually much more. So when I think about it, I think I love backend more because the nuances of front end is can drive you nuts. So the pixel perfect and then UI, especially if you're OC. Backend is just data. It's working with data, manipulating data, receiving requests, and then dishing out rendering data. The front end UI is very meticulous and very tedious. That's how I feel. But I used to do it anyway before. Um, but like going back to your question, I definitely respect an engineer that has at least both both hands in front and back end, and more so with DevOps. You should also know DevOps. That's the it used to be something that was automatic, even 10 years ago, 20, 15 years ago. But now that's very rare for a coder to have DevOps chops as well. That's I don't know if I'm demanding too much. I am because technologies now are different. The front end frameworks are different. The back end is different. But I still respect people that are really full stack, 100%. Um, and I really like to um, train people in our team. For example, if you're front end, learn some back end. We expose you to back end and vice versa. Um, the funny thing, another thing that we actually do at PROUDCLOUD, when you come in as a UI designer, where you're only good at HTML and CSS and maybe some front end JavaScript, we teach you how to code in front end React, um, which was timely because um, with React, for example, and you build React components, so you do it in Figma and use Storybook. You really have to know code. So it works out. So that's something that we like to try to develop also. You come in as a UI UX person, we really hope that you learn React as well, or a front end framework.
I think one of the things that you willingly and passionately support that enables these capabilities is that I see that your team and the heads of your companies, they typically run the community events that center around these technologies.
Right. You know what? It was much more active before, um, around 2010, 2011, maybe up to 2013. The developer community was super active, even with the different disciplines, the Rails guys, the Frog, the Python. We were trying to figure out where the Python guys are because it seemed like they were like a secret sect users group that was operating. They were there, but you couldn't really see them. Then you had the JavaScript. Then people that said you did the JavaScript group. Then you had the
Yeah,
UX group. It was super active before. I'm sort of like looking for that again now because for some reason the ones that were very enthusiastic around that time have been much have well they've matured, but it's sort of like they've outgrown it, the excitement, and they're busy doing adult things, or if you can call it
yeah,
that.
adulting.
Yeah, they're adulting. They don't have time anymore. And I think I feel like we weren't able to pass on the same enthusiasm to the next generation so that they could carry on all these. We used to have the RubyConf here. We used to have a lot of conferences. I think DevCon. I was with the Dom a few weeks ago, and he's trying to bring DevCon. He's trying to lift DevCon up again, and everybody should really support him. The eHeads group, though, those guys are super pop are just active, and maybe it's only because all of them are in my social media circle that I see a lot of their posts but yeah, hopefully that evolves into sort of like um, what do you call this? The godfathers of of coding and engineering, so that they themselves can develop the grassroots, the different users groups that we used to have. Now. AWS, I think, is very active also. AWS users group of late. So
Yeah, they have a lot of community
yeah,
meetups
and they've
and
got a
like
lot of support, I think,
support. Yeah.
with the from AWS. So
Mhm.
that's something that I hope happens again, because that levels up our coding skills collectively as a country. So yeah, I don't know if I went off the
You're
rails
like
there, but
you're an organizer yourself. Like you've done a lot of community work and you started the first startup weekend, right? What was that like?
uh okay, that was very cool because where were you? Did you ever join Startup Weekend? No?
Oh, I was probably in high school or
High school. Okay.
something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So um there's this dude named Terence Pua. Um, we used to have when I started PROUDCLOUD, we started this thing called Roof Camp, which is sort of like in a non-structured meetup where we bought beers. We bought the beers, we sponsored the beers. I brought in a speaker to speak at the start, and it was just a collection of, it was like a ragtag collection of engineers, designers, business people, people that, hopefully like-minded people, what you probably call innovators now, or maybe future or technologists, whatever. But we started doing that, and it grew and grew. So a lot of the people that you see now in the startup ecosystem, startup community, they're all there. Um, um, One of them was Terence Pua. He used to manage Friendster, I think. And he also set up this company called InSync, which is like a Dropbox, which is similar to Dropbox. Um, so he emailed me. He said, Jay, the Startup Weekend guys reached out to me and is asking me to, guys, don't mind my daughter if she goes back and forth behind. So, so he asked me if I wanted to do the startup weekend in Manila. I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I did. And back then, when we were doing community stuff, it was very altruistic. It's really for the community, and it was fun. I mean, for us, it's very fun. When we could see people get together. Then we did startup weekend one, um, which was a super exhilarating experience because it was well attended. That was the first time that the term startup entered mainstream. I remember people calling me on my phone from reporters asking me what to try to describe what a startup is because Startup Weekend had that huge ad in the papers.
They're from
So
ANC.
I can't even remember. That was 2011, but more than 10 years ago. But it was super fun, and you could see all these guys parang they experienced something new. It was something that had never happened before in the Philippines. And there were random people going like um they were just there in the milling about and lurking in the sidelines asking, what's in it for you guys? I mean, you're very skeptical. Because no talk, all action was a slogan. No speakers, and all we did was ask for a token registration so that we didn't waste attendance head count slots. So so that happened, and you could see a lot of founders being created during that weekend, and that was the KPI of Startup Weekend. It's not the projects; it's the founders. They created entrepreneurs. And we did one, two, and three. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but that was the real KPI of Startup Weekend, is to create entrepreneurs, not the projects coming out of the weekend. I mean, yeah, who could we, right? I mean, it's not what are the chances of success? It's the founders, and we did that. That was a pretty cool starting point for the ecosystem. And people that joined me then when we were starting to organize it were the guys that were the Globe New Business Group (NBG). They were they eventually became what we now know as Kickstart Ventures. So si Christian joined me because Christian Bessler. He was always a attendee of Roof Camp and all that. He rang me, said, "Hey, can we participate? Can we help? Can we support?" Yeah, sure. Go, tara, tara. Tapos ayun na, sina Minette, Dan, they rolled up their sleeves and we're part of the we were organizing the thing at Mint College. And right after that, it was clear when Minette said, "Okay, now that we've got entrepreneurs, we've got founders, what's the next ingredient for an ecosystem? Funding." So that's why Minette, Dan, and Christian moved in that direction, and they set up Kickstart Ventures. So they spun off NBG into Kickstart Ventures. So that was pretty pivotal. That was a pivotal time. Um, And I still have the photos there. I still have the videos of the fire pitches. You could see people, those founders that we know now in the ecosystem. They're all there. They're all young. They're pitching their harebrained ideas. Um, I can still remember a lot of these guys in my head when I first met them. They're really young guys, they're kids, and then now they're founders. They've raised. They're investors. I remember Paul. See Paul Rivera. Before Caliber, he was just peeping inside the room because he wasn't part even of Startup Weekend One, but he was there and he was looking in. He was very curious. So that's the energy that was happening. I think the people got came out of the woodwork and now we are where we're at now. So
How do you feel about the ecosystem then versus how it is now?
um well, it's totally different because it was really zero. Um, it was zero. A lot of the ecosystem then was a lot of it came from the engineering, uh, the coders. So that's why when you look at the pictures of Startup Weekend One, a lot of the guys from DevCon were there, Field Dev, the Ruby guys, the PHP guys, they're all there. You could see all the photos. So we were still close to it. The affinity was very strong, but it's not what we have today. Um, because now you have you have founders that don't necessarily have to be engineers. You have founders that are coming from so you've got students, you've got designers, you've got business people that believe that they can found a startup, and that's actually what it should be. And then just bring people together and then build it moving forward. It's gone a long way. It was kind of slow to get. It's still slow to get to where we want to be. We're not there yet. We're far from the success of the even our peers. But it's a far cry from where we started. But it's cool to watch. It's cool to watch.
Yeah, and I think it'll accelerate from there. We have a lot of budding founders in the community. And how about the tech talent, right? Like, so you've been managing multiple startups at the same time, but have varying levels of maturity, right? Would you suggest doing the same thing for fractional CTOs?
Hmm. What do you mean? Do I recommend it? What
Yeah, like
I said.
what do you think is the right mix? Because I was asking you about criteria earlier, right?
Mhm.
But not all of them have 14-year consultancy ongoing, right? So would you recommend something like, should I be a fractional CTO of multiple startups that don't have product market fit yet? Like, what's your take on something like that?
Um, I've got a different perspective because I started very early, and um, I was blessed enough to actually experience different paradigms of tech startups, different frameworks, all the way to Web 2.0, and then now even social media, social computing, etc. Um, so I'm more comfortable doing it. Um, I'm also trained in management, so I like to say that I can read both code and balance sheet. I can do financial statements analysis. I can do financial projections, etc. So I'm very comfortable. I mean, when people ask me, "Can you take this on?" I have the confidence to say, "Yeah," because I have the stock knowledge, I have the skills, and all that. But I'm not sure about the others. There may be other types of other CTOs that have the same skill set, the same ability to time slice, ability to ignore the small stuff. That's just it. I mean, don't waste your time with the no with drama. Don't waste your time with there are a lot of things that you take away from your day, so that you can actually be more productive and efficient. Um, I I I recommend it, yes, but I think now in the Philippines today, it's more of a necessity because we have such a dearth of talent, or dearth of not dearth of talent, but um, supply of CTO level folks. Um, uh, you know how it is, right? The coder that doesn't want to be a manager. That's about 80% of engineers. So how are you
They
going
want to
to
focus
develop?
on just the craft, right?
Yeah,
Like
they're builders, no?
human.
And they don't want to deal with human, personalities. That's management. So no drama, just code. So how do you develop now this this tier of managers, the CTOs? It's tough. I mean, it's they're unicorns. So I think a lot of the CTOs out there have no choice but to act as fractionally, or to serve fractionally. There's definitely a demand. If there's a demand for developers, there's a demand for managers. The funny thing is, recently, remember the product manager role suddenly emerged in
Yeah.
the past 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
I just saw in the past couple of months the CTPO. Are you familiar with that role? The Chief Technology and Product Officer. So now they've
Hmm.
actually combined it into one. That's a thing now. In other words, that's the talent is so sparse that these this has to these people create these roles now. The combined CTO and product officer, and I actually played that role in some of the startups now. But yeah, I mean it's born out of necessity, especially in the Philippines. Outside of that, you can hire from abroad, bring in some CTOs, which is fine as well. I mean that levels up our talent pool, our DNA. Um, but yeah, it's really lack of other people out there. There are tricks though to make it happen, to help out these fractional CTOs. I really recommend people that are working with startups to always have a product committee. That's the key. To have a product manager, to look for a product manager, to have a product committee. And the product committee acts like the product manager as a whole. And it's a management that's hopefully there's a CTO person, or at least the engineer, um, what do you call it, an engineer level guy. We bring in the project manager from the engineering side, the scrum master, the slash project manager. We bring him in there so that he knows the context, diba? But the product manager is very important. And I think the product committee is 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 a necessary group that has to meet at least every week to to discuss the roadmap, the direction of product, etc. They have the interface with the market. They also have the interface with management, and they have the interface with engineering. So they're the ones that are the conductor of the product itself. So yeah, those are things that help me out to insist on a product committee. Yeah. So
So if you want to be CTO but still focus on the engineering work and the architecture and the craft of it, you need to supplement or complement your capabilities with your product partners via
for sure.
the product committee or have a product manager. I think in
Right.
Airbnb they want to mix the like product manager role with a product marketing role. Like they want to merge it as well, but
Yeah.
that's kind of different.
I think it's also because of the evolution of what startups have become. Over the past couple of years, the when a lot of the principles of setting up a startup have become science. You've got product market fit. You've got the metrics. You've monitoring metrics. And then you have the lean startup methodology. You do lean canvas, and you have to iterate very quickly. Agile on the product side, which matches agile on the engineering side. So the engineering side has to be agile as well. You need the you have to match the sprints here with the sprints in product. And so I think we've evolved the ability to put up startups has evolved over the last 10 years into where we are now, where obviously we all learn, right, over the course of time. And now we've got these roles that make our lives easier. The CTPO is funny. I mean, it might be a very clear and relevant role now, no? But it's funny that it suddenly emerged. That means, wow, these guys are really pushing it. They really want to merge and then perspectives and disciplines, etc. So it's just a sign of the times. It's a sign of how we've evolved in technology, how we've evolved in how to build companies, how to deal with people. Um, uh, the concept of fractional is another thing, which is generational.
Is it generational? I think your audio is a bit uh becoming muffled.
Can you hear me
But
better now? No.
I can hear you now, but I'll just call it out when
All
I
right, all right.
hear it. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll switch
So
to the laptop's mic. It
yeah.
might be my
So
headset.
Leon has a question. I
Yep.
work with startups, and a common complaint I hear is that they have difficulty looking for specialized engineers. Any thoughts on why the Philippines has an ocean of generic developers but not enough specializing?
Um, I'd rather have generic developers because if when you talk about generic developers, you're talking about people that know front and back end and DevOps as well. I'd rather have that because it's cheaper as a startup founder. Um, but uh, the real answer to your question is um, there's a huge demand for talent, and it's not just here in the Philippines; it's abroad as well. So a lot of our startups are abroad. They're what they call this. They're being hired by big corporations. So it's just a talent. It's a never-ending problem of lack of engineering talent. It's just I think.
They're just not incentivized to like um just stay here and work for
Yeah, I
you
mean
know cer-
market forces are dictating
Mm.
the supply of engineering. That's why you've got boot camps, diba? So things have changed during the pandemic, um, um, especially when the non-essentials. Oo naman, the emergence of the non-essential workers. Suddenly, you found yourself as a non-essential worker. During the pandemic, people were forced to retool, and then the boot camps came up, and suddenly you have a new source of engineering talent. So I think that's a positive thing, though. Um, um, it's a novel source of engineering talent, which is a credible source of engineering talent.
So Jay, here's a question for you. How does a software engineer progress their career to becoming a fractional chief technology officer? What would you say would they absolutely have to do in order to get there?
Well, first stage is to accept the role of a manager, as a strategist, as an architect. Those are the basic requirements to be any kind of technology CTO or technology director, fractional or not, right? So that discipline and that skill set has to be developed. You have to accept. But like I said, I mean, not all engineers shun it. In fact, they go like, "Wow, I don't wanna do that. Why do you have to? Why do you have to to do this and that. But then you've got some engineers that want to be that, but they don't have the skill set. Naman, I've encountered some that want to be CTOs, but are not. I don't know. They're not. They're not yet. No, they don't have that the ability to orchestrate moving parts in the team and whatever. Um, so how do you do that? I guess it's just the putting them through that experience. I mean, over time, you're giving them, okay, you want to be a manager? Okay, try this first, this level of management. Be a product lead, be a engineering lead, tech lead, and then become a person that manages a team. And then you become a manager of product, specific product. Um, and then it moves from there because then you teach strategy. I think strategy and then the and people skills are one of the essential tools. No? So that's that. Now, to be fractional is a different story because um, I rely a lot on tool sets, on tools. I rely on Slack. Slack really is an exponential boon. No? Kasi all communications there. Um, I For us, there's no one of the things we've learned over time, and we learned this from another company called Pivotal Labs. Um, there's no such thing as these are processes and then habits, good habits. There's no such thing as the midnight coder, that myth of the midnight coder. The we have this rule. There was a rule before at Pivotal Labs where 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock you're out of the coding floor. You got to go home and you have to sleep because if you're that old image of that midnight hacker and pounding on code, for nights at a time, it's law of diminishing returns. You're gonna be productive for 2 3 days, no? But the fourth, fifth, and sixth day, you're down. You've lost that engineer. So you've lost the consistency to push code and then to deliver user stories. That's one thing that's very important for us. And the team has to be at the same space, in same communication space, and same time zone as everybody else, so that the transparency and communication is just free flowing. That's those are the disciplines that we've developed, and Slack helps us with that. Another thing is we don't have any DMs. Uh, okay, I'm talking
Oh,
about
really?
management. These are managing how to manage
It's
teams.
okay.
Sorry,
It's
sorry.
okay. So I'm interested in your tooling stack and how you configure Stack
Yeah,
and
for
what are your
Slack, for example, Slack,
principles of
we've got
using.
the notifications, diba? We've got GitHub on it, we've got Pivotal Tracker on it. So all the activity and all these other tool sets are hit on Pivotal Tracker, or you see on Pivotal Tracker, and then the whole team sees it, the whole organization sees it. So there's no hiding behind. I didn't see anything. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's impossible because it's right there. So it's right there on the channel. So the other important habit that we have is that we ban, we discourage, we in fact we ban PMs, personal messages, back channel communication on Slack. If you're going to talk about the project, you talk about it in the open channel for the benefit of the other teammates. So no back channeling, because back channeling means you're hiding something. So there's nothing to hide in our methodology. We use Scrum. You can't hide any. You shouldn't hide anything. Um, Everything should be out and open for both the product owner, the Scrum Master, the developers. Para walang there's no doubt. There's no everything's trust based. You trust everybody. So that's that. So you've got Slack, and Slack is very important there. Um, uh, what else? Um, Honestly, all the other tool sets that we aside from that, that's pretty much it in our project management stack, no? Which is Pivot Tracker, which is also the transparency. Everything is just moves towards transparency in the project in work. That's key. Communication, timely communication, and be accessible during the your working hours. So that's the idea. Personal tool set. I'm trying to be a Notion guy. Uh,
Okay.
and just like every other Notion guy, you spend a lot of time trying to configure your Notion to make it look nice. So I'm trying to be as minimal as possible. I mean, I got this template. I'm a second brain. I believe in the second brain thing. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There are entire softwares for that, like
yeah,
Obsidian, I think,
the
and
templates for second brain. So I actually got one. I go like, wow, this is super. It's all interconnected. The database is connected with your inbox and your para. It's also the para method. So it's now.
shout out to my CTO Aaron. He
Uh,
also, like, he's so similar to you. Like everything you just said, like
right.
he's doing that,
Yeah,
except
I
for the
try,
backend
I
language.
try. Because it makes sense, di ba? It makes sense. The problem is I spend too much time configuring. And I'm that type of guy. My problem is it's actually is the same. I'm actually the same way with Vim, for example. 'Cause I'm a Vim guy, and the problem with Vim is that you have to. There's a lot of plugins. You want to configure your color scheme. Yeah, you have to put in the different plugins for your indentation, for your syntax and all that, like for your lint. So once you get sucked into that rabbit hole of configuring the perfect Vim setup, okay, it's the same as Notion. Diba? You try to make it perfect. Tapos you want to make it look pretty as well. So wala na. That's it. Forget about the actual
Yeah,
work.
fractional CTO.
Yeah.
15% on tool configuration.
Right. Pero ano, it's also time management, being fractional. And the whole remote work really helps. I mean, the traffic is really a time killer. Everybody has to agree that you just waste your life in traffic. So do that. There was a time I also tried one meeting a day rule pre-pandemic. My rationale was so that it's a productive meeting. You remember what you had in your meet you talked about in your meeting, and it's not multiple meetings in a day. Then it's all a blur until the end. No, and then but lately because of remote, you started cramming all sorts of multiple meetings in your day now. But now I think I've managed to have 3 meetings, 4 meetings in a day. Especially the startup meetings. The startup meetings are easy because they're very, um, you know what? There's an agenda. You've got tasks that were supposed to be done the last sprint, and you discuss what the next sprint will be. So man, there's structure. The ones that are weird are the ones where you go into a meeting and you don't know what to expect. So it's hit or miss. There are times when you walk out of a meeting, wow, there's a waste of time. I could have done something else. And you really always have something else to do. Um, um, I want to read books. I like reading books. I don't have time to read books anymore. There's this rule, there's this technique now that, you should read at least 1 hour a day. So I'm trying to figure out how to insert that into my routine. My routine is quite packed. That's my problem now. And I have a Calendly. Calendly is a game changer. If you have a Calendly, I highly recommend it. Um, it manages your your meetings. And you
Your
just
life.
it's sort of like
Yeah.
just talk to my secretary, and let's schedule pick a convenient time, and you configure it so that it fills out the right times for you. So that's a big game changer.
All right.
You know,
Those are great tips. And I sincerely hope, Jay, you get your 1 hour a day to read.
right, right.
Um, maybe let's just get one last question from the audience. So, Bry asks, this is a controversial question, depending on how we define it.
All right.
How does an engineer become a 10x engineer?
Oh, okay. Um, you never stop, you never stop being curious. You never stop um, playing around with code, with new tech, with new stacks, new APIs. They're all out there. Every day you see a new one. I mean, there's so much stuff you can play around with. I wish I had the time to do that, to actually build on new tech. I wish I had the time to play around with open AI, um, uh, and but that's really the key. That's really the key. And I think do it while you're young, when there's not much on your plate, especially if you're not married yet. Well, it's the perfect time. Just pound away and continue to code. When things start coming in, uh, you really pine for the time that the just weird habit every day. I open up my terminal, hoping that I will. It's funny, okay? Recently, I'm doing this. I open up my terminal, I update all my brews on homebrew on my Mac. Um, fingers crossed, I'll be able to fire up bits so that I can set up a dev environment and pull some code and then play it out. I do it a lot of times, and I always end up just doing a brew update, and a brew upgrade. Tapos wala na. Then I'm back, and life brings me back to other stuff, to email, and I know I shun email. Chat is where I thrive, and I think that's where everybody's here. I mean, email is what, 30 years old, almost 40. I mean, it's an obsolete technology. It's good for it's for routing documents, routing paper trail and whatever. But chat is where you do real work. It's a message.
We have a lot of similarities in setup just from the Notion one, and well, from yellow pad to like I guess we're more spoiled now. Like we have GitHub Copilot. France has a question. At J, is your fractional CTO like a part-time engagement where you have some time every week to do whatever is needed, or is it more like a productized service wherein you just provide a single aspect of a CTO, like building a
No,
team?
you really act like
Yeah.
a yeah, you act like a CTO. It includes building the team, being part of the product committee, the roadmap, everything. That's how I function. You're a co-founder. Sometimes I'm a key co-founder. Sometimes I go beyond that, even strategy, even business strategy. Um, but yeah, you can't. I mean, you can't deliver piecemeal energy or output. So yeah, good to see you, Franz. Long time. I haven't seen you in a while.
All right. Thank you for that, Franz. And if no one has any more questions, we will give Jay back his time to read.
Yeah, to be.
Uh, yeah. Thank you so much, Jay, for being on our Swarm Salon. And we appreciate you for just giving us all of the wisdom.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And reach out anytime if you'd like to chat.
Yes, reach out to Jay's LinkedIn and find his Calendly somewhere and fill up his time so that he doesn't have time to do other stuff.
Okay.
Um, all right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to end the recording now.